the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Gargnesi, joined as always by Nima Tavali. So we start this week with the massive news that Juventus have sacked Thiago Motta and appointed Igor Tudor until the end of the season. There's going to be so much to talk about there. We will react to all of that on today's show. There's also big managerial developments at Milan as Max Allegri's return becomes more and more possible, with Fabio Paratici now likely to become the club's new sporting director. We'll talk about that. We will also react to the epic match between Italy and Germany on Sunday evening in Dortmund in the UEFA Nations League quarter-final, a 3-3 draw, which wasn't enough to take Italy through, but I mean, it was one of the craziest games I think I've ever seen. So again, so much to talk about there. We will preview this weekend's action. It's the return of Serie A, and also we'll have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. And just wait for the Serie ASS of the week, because we've been talking on this show a lot about the Serie A TV rights and what shambles that is. Well, we've got one of the worst examples of failure by the Serie A when it comes to TV rights as our Serie ASS of the week. So just wait for that. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast, receive all of our content that we do throughout the week without any ads, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more. Then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price and terms. And for all of you who listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, a follow and a like. Also, do subscribe to us on YouTube as well. You can also actually become a patron on YouTube via YouTube memberships. Go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@itafootpod for more details. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we have to start off with Juventus. We'll then talk about Italy and then we'll go to Milan. That's the running order of today's show. But Juventus is the place to start. It is the huge news that was confirmed on Sunday that Juventus have sacked Thiago Motta with imminent effect. He has now gone. Igor Tudor has been appointed as his replacement until the end of this season. 9 games to go, with the option, the Juventus retaining the option to extend for another year. So, immediate reaction first to this decision. First of all, Juventus had no choice, I think, than to sack him. Juventus are in a very precarious position. 5th place in Serie A, terrible run of form, losing their last 2 games, 4-0 at home to Atalanta, 3-0 at Fiorentina. They are risking top 4, which, as we've discussed on this show, equals financial Armageddon. With 9 games left, in the middle now of an international break, they needed to bring in a new manager just to try and give them that famous new manager bounce to try and rescue top 4. If they had stayed with Motta, which it seemed initially after that defeat to Fiorentina, when Tudor was actually given a vote of confidence by Cristiano Giuntoli, it looked like he was going to stay, and it seemed like maybe the Genoa game would be the key game. It seems that Juventus have now seen sense. It seems the reason this happened was they had a meeting on last Tuesday, only 3 of them, and Giuntoli, Scanavino and Motta, and the meeting went very, very badly, led to a shouting match where Giuntoli even told Tudor reportedly that he was ashamed to have appointed him, and from there the decision was then made to sack him. However it came about, I think it's the right decision. If we can just talk about the immediate reaction, then we can sum up Motta's time as a whole at Juventus. But in terms of the now, Juventus had to make this decision, Nima.
Well, it's exactly what we said at the time. We've been saying for weeks, and I want to go back to what I said a couple of weeks ago when Juventus were only 6 points behind, and I said the way that Juventus, like the given how Juventus works in the sense that it's winning is the only thing that matters. When and also how you capitalize on chances, when you're given a ticket into a Scudetto race that you have no business to be in, whether or not you are da Juve is how you handle those situations. Well, we know how and I said at the time that if he manages to do that, even if he doesn't win, but he manages to give the others a run for their money, put pressure on Inter, on Napoli, on Atalanta, then we can, then I think he could even stay not just to the end of the season, but even beyond. Well, we know what happened. He got humiliated by Atalanta, got ripped apart by Fiorentina, and now they're in fifth, 1 point behind Bologna, the team they took Thiago Motta from. The team is in complete shambles, and he has proven time and time again that he was not ready for this step. He was not ready to go from Bologna to Juve. He's not ready to handle everything around that it takes to be at a club of Juve's stature in this situation. And so I'm not surprised at all. What I did find surprising is what we spoke about last week when it looked like he was going to stay, when they confirmed that he was going to stay. That to me was surprising. That's not how Juve are run. That is not how Juve have been run in their history. So that was surprising. This to me is normal. And the fact that Igor Tudor has come in as a traghettatore is completely expected. I'm not surprised at all. Okay. They need to stop the hemorrhaging. They need to bring someone in who knows the environment, both as a player and as a coach. Remember, he was the assistant to Pirlo. And they need someone who's actually done well as a head coach as well, decently. He has done. And they need to secure that top four, because without top four, Juventus are in an absolute nightmare, meltdown. And these are not hyperbolic expressions. Financially, Juventus will be in a tailspin if they don't finish in the top four and miss the Champions League. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. So they have to do something. I'm not surprised they did it. I'm not surprised that it's Tudor. And I think it just shows that, no matter how good of a coach you are, and no matter how good you can, how great of a talent you are as a coach, and Thiago Motta is a talent, and I've said repeatedly, and I will say it again, in case there are someone who experiences cognitive dissonance as to my position, and that is that Thiago Motta, I'm sure, will have a great career. My thing was, I think that replacing Allegri with him, or trying to replace Simone Inzaghi with him, was a step too steep too soon. He's not ready for one of those big clubs just yet, after one good season at Bologna, where, he did great. They did fantastically. But it was not entirely down to his tactical masterclass. If you look at the underlying numbers, as you kept saying as well, that this is not going to be Joga Bonito. In fact, he was defensively very solid, very pragmatic. And in the final third, he gave the players free reins to do a little bit what they wanted. Well, we saw that for 8-9 months, or 100 days, or 300 days rather, where we saw a Juve that were defensively solid, didn't lose, didn't concede much. But as soon as they reached the opposition's penalty box, as I've said 100 times, and I'll say it 100 times more, Juventus flatlined. Their attack and creativity flatlined. It didn't die. It just flatlined. It's a bit
up until January, and then the defensive.
No, I'm talking. Yeah, but that's
well.
I'm talking about in the final third. They flatlined, and you can't do that at this level. In the modern day, you have to have an identity. You have to have something, and he had nothing. There was nothing there.
Well, if we sum up,
I just wanted to say, with having this in mind, This is why I last week on the Q&A for patrons only said, I truly hope that Vincenzo Italiano stays one more season at Bologna, because he's developed his defensive game. His attack is outstanding. Thiago Motta's defense is outstanding. His attack is non-existent. I hope that they do not burn Vincenzo Italiano either. I hope that he stays at Bologna for another season. Just like De Zerbi took a detour around France, they need time to grow. And otherwise, we ruin careers. I hope Thiago Motta's career is not ruined. I think in the Serie A, it might look a little bit... I think he might want to go to Germany or France or somewhere else to kind of reestablish himself at a medium-sized club and then go big from there. But that's the point I was making, to tie back to what I was saying about Italiano, that I really hope that this development that he's gone through, this great step that he's taken, he's allowed to do it another season. And that's how I feel about Thiago Motta. I really hope that his next step is an important one, and it's an intelligent one where he can show, because I really think there is a coaching material there.
Okay, well, yeah, well, okay, we've dealt with the immediate reaction. You've dealt with, well, there, what's next for Motta. Let's sum up though Motta's time at Juventus, and we have to be honest, it was a disaster in every possible way. There were big hopes. I mean, I have to be honest. I was happy with the appointment, as I think most Juventus fans were happy with the appointment of Motta. I mean, they'd been suffered so much under Allegri for 3 years, and the Pirlo season as well for 4 years, that this was kind of like the beginning. This was where there was hope again, not just with Motta, but also the project, Giuntoli, spending in the market again, and we'll come to the club as a whole after. There was hope again, but it's been a disaster. And the results have been disastrous, as we said. 5th in Serie A, Champions League out in the playoffs, Coppa Italia out in the quarterfinals to a team in the relegation zone, Empoli, who played their reserve team in that game. The 3rd worst win percentage in a century at Juve for managers that had over X amount of games. I can't remember, like 30 or 40, or had at least 30 or 40 games with Juventus. It's the 3rd worst win percentage. And obviously all the draws, which is one thing you missed out on your recap of him. The number of draws that the Juventus had in the first half of the season was insane. The performances have been poor. The first half of the season, as you said, tight defence, good shape, but awful offensively. But the second half of the season, the defence collapsed as well, as we've seen in the last 2 games, and they've lost the shape. And now there is no identity. Motta's been criticised for bringing no identity to Juventus, which is true in an extent. But I would say that actually the first half of the season, there was an identity in the sense that at least the identity was this was a Juventus team that's very hard to score against, to create against. It was a team that was well set up in defensive phases, but that has disappeared. So once that's disappeared, you think, well, what is the point of keeping Motta? What are you keeping him for if you don't even have that? The big money signings have been a disaster. Now we can always debate on whether that's more Motta, whether it's more Giuntoli, whether it's more the club. There's always there's always a combination of factors there. But the bottom line is 150 million euros combined on Coop Miners, Douglas Luiz, Nico Gonzalez. They've all been a disaster. And the other thing is, and I think this is important, this is somewhere I also think he needs to improve, but I guess if it's your personality, it's your personality. You can't create a personality if you don't have one. There's no inspiration or personality or character that ever came out. When, especially in games where Juventus was struggling, he was so dour-faced, so emotionless. When you saw him in press conferences, he was poor with the media as well. No real great feeling with the squad from the people I've spoken to. A manager needs to inspire his players. Now, that doesn't mean you have to rant and rave like Mike Bassett, but it means that, you have to be able to inspire your players in one way or another. I don't feel like Thiago Motta's time at Juventus, it never came to me that he was capable of inspiring reactions. We never saw a Juventus team that ever reacted. We saw it maybe in that Leipzig game, and that's where I think a lot of the hope that, yes, this Juventus is coming back. I saw more than a few people. I think me and you even asked it ourselves. is this Juventus back after they showed that reaction, 10 men, injustice with the referee, and they come back and they won 3-2 in a really tough place. And we thought, wow. But apart from that, we never saw Juventus team reacting when they went behind, when there was just, and that was, I think they just didn't feel like that with Motta. I mean, the only way that I can redeem Motta is to say, yes, the defence has been had an injury crisis all season, and he lost his best player this season near the start of the season in Bremer. And any club, any team would be seriously affected if you take the best player out of every team and ask them to play the whole season. Yes, that is going to affect them. That's not easy, but still, that's no excuse. And so it's been a disaster. It's been a disaster.
And it's a disaster that is accentuated even further because if you look at Allegri's 3 seasons at Juve, which I was told was the worst thing since bread came sliced for Juve, 59 points after 29 games this season. Last season, 59 points. Season before that, 55 points. Season before that, 56 points. So at most, 4 points were more than Allegri in these 3 years after that kind of spending, bringing in a midfield of Thuram, who I don't think anyone in the world wouldn't want to have Kefren Thuram in their squad. Koopmeiners, who was one of the Serie A midfielders candidates of this season. Douglas Luiz, who was a midfielder of the year in the Premier League, All of these players brought in, one, except for Thuram, one has been a bigger failure than the other, and they've got absolutely no control in midfield, and it looks worse than it did under Allegri. So of course he had to go. There's no discussion.
I can't argue that it's right now. It's worse than it was. It looks worse than it was under Allegri now.
Because it is worse.
I can't. Yeah, I can't argue with that. The only thing I would say is, look, and this brings us on nicely to talking about the club as a whole, which I want to come on to now in a second. It's been a disaster at Juventus since Pirlo took over. It was a disaster in Pirlo's season. It was a disaster in all 3 of Allegri's seasons. It was a disaster in Motta's season. That we just need to remember that. So what is the common denominator through all of that? It's the club above. It's something that we've spoken about
to death.
to death in recent weeks.
Literally to death. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Let's do it one more time. Hopefully.
Oh my God! Another moan fest.
Hopefully,
no.
Well, no, listen. We're here to sum up Motta's. We have to be fair, and we have to talk about the club as a whole. Like you did, and maybe I should have done more when Allegri was finally sacked. The club is a mess.
You want to moan more about Allegri? How is that even humanly possible? Like, what? That's you sitting and crying, wailing at a wall. Like,
well, no, I'm defending him here. I'm saying that the club is a mess above him, and that's my only kind of, what's the right word? Like, kind of
regret that you didn't moan more.
No. I'm saying that's the only thing that I will. That's my only concession. Is the word I'm looking for. That's the only concession I will make on all of my opinions of Allegri, is that maybe I underplayed the mess above, but I've admitted that. That doesn't change my opinion that Allegri was the results and the performances under Allegri were horrific. We can't forget that. 16 points away from the top of the table was his best season, and his 2 Champions League seasons were out in the first knockout stage, and 3 points in the group and losing to Maccabi Haifa. So, and Pirlo's season was a disaster as well, even though he did manage to win 2 trophies, and Allegri did win a trophy, which is more than Motta. So both of them, at least they got a trophy. But it's been a disaster for 4 years, and we need to, Juventus and the fans and the club need to not look at this just in the vacuum of one disastrous season under Motta or 3 disastrous seasons under Allegri or Pirlo's disaster. They need to look at it as a whole, that this has been 5. Sorry, it's 5 seasons, isn't it? Not 4 seasons.
4 or 5, yeah.
It's even worse.
Half a decade.
Yeah. So this is 5 years of a disaster, and the common denominator is that the club is being run terribly up above. It starts with Elkan, because when you've got someone at the top, the chief of Exor that is that isn't interested in football, isn't interested in Juventus, doesn't have any real competency or understanding with football. And then that goes down to, the president, Ferrero, Scanavino, the CEO, Giuntoli, all, as I've said in recent episodes, I've been speaking to people within Juventus, inside Juventus, so I know this. There's no synergy between the different club departments. The head of the club departments, from what I've been told, don't even report to anyone. They're all doing their own thing. And there's multiple failures in multiple club departments. You've got if you take first of all the recruitment, Giuntoli. Like we've spoken about the epic failures of players this season. Now, is that on Giuntoli? Is that on the manager? Is that on a bit of everyone? Probably a bit of everyone. But it's been an epic failure. Giuntoli has been an epic failure so far. So that department is failing. He's failing. Then you've got the medical department, which is failing massively. With have you seen the number of injuries? Not just this season, but going into Allegri. I remember one of the seasons where Allegri, where he could barely put out a team. I remember, it was like for a few months he could barely put out a team. This season, Juventus could only for what I think October, November, Juventus could only put like 2 or 3 outfield players on the bench at one point. So the medical department is failing miserably. Look at the number of ACLs. Then you've got economically. I mean, it's well known what a disaster Juventus' economic situation. How many times have they been bailed out in these last 2 years? And then this season again, they've spent heavily. Okay, they did recoup a bit of money as well, but they've spent heavily, and they've not only have these players failed, but they're having to try and balance the books by. They tried to sell Cambiasso in January to balance the books. And if they don't qualify for the Champions League, it is Armageddon financially. And, if you go to the commercial side of things, Nima, they haven't even got a sponsor. I mean, I cannot believe the incompetency that Juventus do not have a sponsor. I don't care what reasons that anybody gives that they might have overinflated in the past, which other teams do as well, like Man City, for example, PSG. But fair enough. Okay, they're going to stop using a sponsor to inflate it. Get a bloody sponsor, even if you take a big drop. It is unbelievable, the incompetency. And some of the things I've been told, like some of the people working in the commercial team, they're doing all this. I got sent this nonsense about how they've been boasting. This reminds me of also of the Serie A as a whole, boasting about how Juventus were involved in some NASA mission to the moon or to another planet or something, and how they're
what in God's name were you talking about?
Okay, did you switch off? No, but
moon. What?
No,
what?
Juventus have been involved in some kind of brand partnership with a NASA mission to moon, and they're like boasting about how this proves that they're doing a great job commercially.
I've not.
I'll send it to you after. I'll send it to you after. No, Juventus hired some kind of, I'm not sure what his position was, but some American guy who's been heading up. He's got one of the most important positions within the commercial and brand team, and he's been going out doing all these partnerships with like NASA, with politicians, with.
It's a football club.
Exactly.
To do what?
That was exactly my reply to the guy who sent me this information. I was like, "Can you explain to me how this helps?
How does this help a football club?
Juventus as a football team?" And this is kind of where this is.
ET is a Juventino. I mean, what is it?
No, exactly. Like
what?
I said to that, I said, "Can we get a bloody sponsor first? Then we talk about missions to the moon, and you know what I mean?"
Why is Juventus ain't winning the Serie A, so they're relocating to the moon? Like,
well,
what is this?
They probably won't even beat they won't even beat a team of aliens. But this is
madness. This is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
I know, but this is also a Serie A problem. This.
Yeah, that is. I was going to say this isn't just
Juventus. Like, trust me, this is This is all over the shop. This is
Italian football marketing. This.
Oh yeah, the
this is for me. This is for me typical Italian football marketing. This kind of notion of no, like aiming for crazy shit that no one thinks about, like that is completely irrelevant to what you're doing. Meanwhile, the Premier League live on Earth and dominate the Earth, and you're dreaming of Mars. I mean, it's just mental.
Exactly.
That's
Well, no, it
insane.
is, and it's not just Juventus doing this. This is, I mean, Milan play, hiring these influencers and playing first one to move his gay games
Zlatan and
with
Speed.
Zlatan and Speed and all this stuff. So yeah, it's let me find it. Here we go. I'm going to read it out to you just so that everybody knows. So Juventus Football Club has become the first club to be associated with a lunar mission after aerospace company Lunar Outpost successfully landed the MAPP rover on the moon as part of Lunar Voyage
But
1.
why?
The club's involvement stems from its collaboration with Lunar Outpost, reinforcing Juventus's brand as an innovation leader. Lunar Voyage 1 launched from Cape Canaveral on February the 26th, it's recent, it's in the last month or so, and reached the lunar South Pole on March the 6th, marking a milestone in a space exploration.
You're winding me up, right?
I'm not winding you up. While the rover landed in a stationary position, it will still gather critical data for future missions. Juventus sees this partnership as a bold step beyond football, aligning with cutting-edge advancements in science and technology. Meanwhile, Lunar Outpost aims to use the collaboration to engage new audiences in space travel and sustainability. Why it matters. Juventus is redefining the role of a football club, proving that sports brands can extend their influences far beyond entertainment.
Meanwhile, on Earth, Juventus are in fifth and
I'll just finish it up. This partnership highlights the growing trend of rights holders. Oh, the buzzwords, the marketing buzzwords that drive me mad.
Vomit.
The jargon, leveraging their brand equity to collaborate with industries outside of sport, from aerosports to sustainability. Oh, I hate that word as well. With clubs continuously seeking
every single word you said there is just jargon words by people who barely have a high school degree, who just know the right people and just vomit this word.
I was at the Zone. I used to work with people like this all the time when we used to have like brand campaigns, football campaigns, and they used to just like literally for an email from them, I used to just die reading their email, and it would just be full of these jargon words, and it was just like,
because this makes no sense. Like this is insane. What you just read to me is mental. How can you not have read this earlier?
I was only shared this the other day with a friend, with someone that's close to Juventus. This
is insane. Yeah. This is genuinely insane. That a football, like a lunar. I still feel you're winding me up.
The head of this is a guy called Mike Armstrong, who is the CMO of Juventus.
Of course, his name is Armstrong. Of course, his name is Armstrong.
He's probably related to Neil Armstrong, isn't he? It's Neil Armstrong's son or grandson.
Oh my god! See, this is mad.
He's the CMO, which I'm not sure what is that Chief Marketing
Officer?
Possibly, yeah. Well, apparently
it is. CMO is Chief Marketing.
Apparently, he's leaving the position at Juventus.
What, to go to the moon?
Probably. I mean, he's taken up another position, but he's But what does he leave now at Juventus? He leaves a club that's been focused
on the moon. He leaves them on the moon, but outside the Champions League zone.
He took over in September 2021.
This is insane.
As Chief Marketing Officer.
This is insane. I know you're not lying, but I still can't believe it.
I'm going to forward it to you right now.
Yes, you have to. This is
the most. It's on this Mike Armstrong's LinkedIn page. So everybody that listening can check that I'm not making this up.
Of course, it's on his LinkedIn page. If there is of all social media platforms of these, LinkedIn is literally the seventh circle of hell of these people.
You said it, mate. You said it.
Oh my god, yeah. It's just, yeah.
Oh god.
Jesus Christ.
So where were we? So basically
we're on the moon. We're back on Earth now.
Yeah, we're back on Earth now. So basically what I was saying was that Juventus are, they're up above the manager. It's a mess. It's a joke. The club is being run terribly. I know that some important ex-players have been very heavily critical, some that are still involved with Juventus. I can't give too much away, that are just like, who the hell are these people that are running these departments at Juventus? What the hell is going on? So it's a complete mess. And as a result of all this all goes down to the pitch, to the manager, to the players, to the squad. And it becomes, and to the fans. It's become a toxic environment at Juventus, just as it has done at Milan. And when you have such a poisonous, toxic atmosphere, it becomes very, very hard for a manager, for the players. When the fans are against you, when they're like booing against you, Milan, it's even worse. It's become even worse at Milan. When they're unhappy with the ownership, it does become very hard for a manager, and it becomes what I've called like Man United syndrome. Where it almost doesn't matter which manager you bring in. Look how many managers Juventus have had in the last 5 years. How many players, top players, how much, Juventus have tried it all. They've tried the youth route. They've tried the established stars, like the summer when they brought back, Pogba and Bremer and Di Maria, and they brought in sort of like more established Serie A stars and world stars, and it failed. They've tried the youth route. It's failed. They've tried the attacking manager, like Motta. They've tried the defensive manager like Allegri. They've tried well, fuck knows what Pirlo was, but they've
desperation
tried,
is what it was.
The stab in the dark. They've tried everything, and it's all failed. So what does that tell you? That tells you that up above, it's a club is only successful when it's run well from the top, and it hasn't been. So if Juventus want to become Juventus again, it's not going to be about the manager only. It's going to be about sorting out up above. And that's why, I don't want to discuss again. That's why Juventus need Andrea Agnelli. I'm not saying Andrea Agnelli, and there's other issues with him before he could come back. But they need an Andrea Agnelli, what's the bloody... I'm losing my words now. Take this off me, Nima. It's not going to... Juventus.
No, they need someone who I understand what you're saying. They don't need Andrea Agnelli as such, but they need some character like him who preferably isn't involved in being, with problems with the law. But they need someone who's competent and who's not facing criminal indictment. Yeah. But someone who's competent. And I really wanted to ask you about this. I think that I don't see Andrea Agnelli coming back anytime soon, especially with everything going off the pitch. But at least not within the family. But so I'm actually thinking maybe it is time, because John Elkann doesn't care and they're involved in other things, which I understand. He doesn't have an obligation to care about Juve. But if that's the truth, then I think Juventus should look at selling the club. I think Exor should look at selling the club. I think after a century of ownership, more than a century, successful, blah, 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 all that stuff, maybe it's time to part ways. Maybe the Agnelli Elkann family needs to part ways and sell it to Agnelli, financed and backed by others.
Do you know the new Bitcoin guy that's you were talking to, weren't you, about possibly coming on the pod?
Yeah.
Or
it's not Bitcoin, it's a crypto guy.
Crypto, sorry, crypto. He was actually asked this in an interview last week about, is there a possibility that maybe, the Agnellis or the Elkanns could get rid of the Juventus? And he said, his example was, well, look at Berlusconi. It can happen. Obviously, Agnellis go back a lot further than Berlusconi. But then it was also put to him back that, well, look what happened to Milan after Berlusconi left. Yeah, exactly. It was a complete shit show. So if you are going to do that and make such a big decision, it needs to be, the right people need to come in. Otherwise, Milan happens.
Well, it's always going to be upheaval. Like when you have an ownership change is birth at a club. So it's always going to be difficult, but it depends on who takes over and who buys and stuff like that.
I don't think it's a valid question though now, because it's 5 years. And 5 years is a long time in football. And to go 5 years becoming the shit show that Juventus have become is...
And also, it's a bad business deal for Exor. If they're not interested and they just have to plow money in, and to the point where now he's basically said, I'm sorry, I'm not putting a euro more. You're just going to have to resolve it yourself. Who can blame? I understand it from a business point of view. I mean, he's not interested. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to do this. Because of, right or wrong, the time changes.
No, and it's costing them a lot. But that's also down to incompetence. I mean, again, if you look at the money that's been wasted this season, the 150 million on Coop, Luis and Gonzalez, as I said, if you add in Lord Kelly for another 23 million, you're pushing it up towards 175 million just on those four players. Then you add in the salary of Allegri's final season, they're paying this season, which is over 10 million.
And how much they're going to have to pay
Now
Thiago
they're
Motta?
now they're going to have to pay at least, I think it's going to be around about 15 million, something like that. They're going to have to pay, and then there's his staff as well. You're talking, and then you're going to have to pay for Tudor's wages, and then you're going to have to bring in a new coach, whoever that is, permanently. You're talking over 200 million here in a year, just on complete.
And then if you
disaster.
throw in, if they don't make the Champions League,
Yeah.
this is a club that's already in an absolute tailspin financially, a
Yeah.
meltdown.
So the
And if
money
you
that's
add,
being wasted is
on
unreal.
an absolute dross. I think we might see the end of Giuntoli as well if they don't make top four.
I think his position is very much under scrutiny now because because he's chose Motta, and that's admittance of failure from him. And you add the transfer market in as well. If Juventus don't make top four, I think, or don't make Champions League, then I think that I think his job's got to be on the line.
Well, I wonder if that Lunar pod has got a free space. He might want to go there. I'm sorry, but you can't say that. Like, what? That's insane. That story is the most insane story you've ever shared on this pod. It's like Bedford story on steroids and acid.
Yeah.
Mental.
I've got a good Bedford story. I'll share that in the. I've got a brilliant Bedford story this week. I'll share that in the Q&A on Wednesday. So before we move on from Juventus, this is important. Let's talk about Igor Tudor. Igor Tudor comes in. He's preferred to Roberto Mancini, who was the other candidate for this job. It seems like Tudor's got it, partly because of the Juventus connection. He knows the club and everything, but also because he's more of a low risk than Mancini in the sense that he's happy to just take the job until the end of the season without any clause or any, guarantees of getting the job permanently. Whereas Mancini, it seems Mancini was happy to take the job to the end of the season, but said, look, if I get Champions League, I want the job permanently. And Juventus didn't want to risk that. Probably more complicated getting the contract done for Mancini than Tudor. They needed to move fast. They've gone for Tudor. So that's why
I think Igor Tudor is just a traghettatore. I think they're just going to bring him in to finish the season. I don't think he's going to be Juve's manager next season. Not if they make the Champions League. I don't see that. My money's still on Roberto Mancini. I think this buys them time to negotiate calmly, to be able to plan their next season should they make top four, and they can look at and say, okay, what's out there? What can we do? What do we want to do? What's the next step? Like, it buys time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like you said, they need someone that can give them a bounce, and I think he did a good job with Lazio in giving them.
I think Tudor is a good coach. I think Tudor is a decent coach. Yeah, I don't think he's a permanent fixture at Juve, no. But to get them to the top four.
The issue with him is he generally doesn't rub off that well on his players. He hasn't had a good relationship with a lot of players. That shouldn't matter for 2 months. No. If it gets them over the line, who cares if he falls out with all of them? But we've seen him fall out. We've seen that with Lazio. I mean, they didn't like him, and he wasn't there for very long. Guendouzi was going to leave if he stayed, and he had some issues with players. Quite a few players at Marseille as well. He's somebody that doesn't generally get on quite. He does have some issues with players. But, Juventus have to think short-term here. They have to think about getting in that top four. That's all that matters now. Then, like you said, at the end of the season, they regroup and they make a long-term decision on the permanent coach. How will Juventus line up with Tudor? I mean, it's going to be a back three, isn't it? It's going to be a 3-5-2 or 3-4-2-1. That's what Tudor does. It's what he knows. So you're going to get some winners and losers. The winners are going to be, I think everybody's said this, the winner's going to be Dusan Vlahovic. Tudor called him the best striker in Serie A year or two ago. He's going to play. He probably suits his football more, more kind of box play. And so he's probably going to be up front. The losers are going to be the wingers. He's not going to play with wingers. And Juventus have a lot of them. They built their whole transfer market on wingers last year. But, again, this is where the whole kind of synergy that I'm talking about not planning. But again, this is desperation stuff. Juventus just need to get in the top four. The wingers are all going to lose out. Conceição, where does he? I don't think he has a position. Nico Gonzalez. Who else is there? I mean, even Yildiz, maybe he can adapt into a front two. Behind the striker, he could maybe adapt. Even Muani. I mean, I'm not even sure if he 100% fits a 3-4-2-1. maybe if he goes 3-5-2, he can play in the front too. But
I'm thinking 3-5-2, Moani and Vlahovic together up front.
But I mean,
I
if he
think
plays a
that could be the
3-4-2-1, I'm
solution.
not sure where Muani fits. I mean, if he's the lone striker, yes. But if it's the two behind the one, can he play there? Not really convinced he can. So, there's quite a few losers in terms of personnel, but we're talking about 9 games here. But again, it comes back to what we said about the synergy. You're going from a manager to a 3-5 for a manager without wingers. You built your transfer policy around wingers, and now you're hiring a coach who doesn't play wingers. For quarter of a season, really. I mean, it's failure. It's complete failure across the board in terms of planning and everything. But they have to do what they have to do to try and get into get in the top 4.
No, they have to. There's like I can't even begin to explain to Juventus fans and others what an absolute failure that would be. Like what it would mean. I think it would set Juventus back at least 3 years. It would mean a complete financial meltdown. That they're not going to be saved from. Very simply put.
Yeah.
And there's going to have to be made big sacrifices in the squad. Like I can't even begin to explain what that would mean for Juve.
Yeah, for sure. But if we have a look at like a probable 11 for Tudor, recording this on Monday, let's say 3-5-2. If he goes 3-5-2, Di Gregorio in goal. I mean, the back three, we're looking at Gatti, Kalulu for sure. Whether Gatti's to the right centre back or Kalulu's to the right centre back, guess it could go either way. And then the left centre back, we're looking at Vega or Lord Kelly. And then the wing backs, we're probably looking at Weah and Cambiasso.
I think it's going to be them.
And then the centre midfield, I think Thuram and Locatelli, I would expect. I would expect those two to be there. And then probably Koopmeiners, if we're talking about a straight midfield 3. And then up front, we're probably looking at Vlahovic and either Kolo Muani or Yildiz as the two. If they go 3-4,
that's what I'm thinking.
If they go 3-4-2-1, which I think maybe is Tudor's more favoured position, then we're probably looking at Thuram, Locatelli, Koopmeiners, and then the two behind the one, you probably added in an extra midfielder. So that could be McKennie, could be Koopmeiners behind the two. I don't really see, maybe Yildiz as well could probably play in that two behind the one.
Yeah.
I don't really see Muani or Conceição or Nico Gonzalez playing in that two behind the one. I don't know how you use those players, to be honest, other than as maybe subs to try and bring on if you need a goal when you need to go more attacking in the last 20 minutes. So, yeah, those players are a bit screwed for the rest of the season, to be honest with you.
No, they are. And, well, that's how it feels like anyway. But I think right now it doesn't, who cares? Juve have to finish top 4. It's as simple as that. And because it's crisis. And it's quite a mess. You can tell by Juventus as well that the vibe around Juve that people are fed up. Fans are completely fed up. They've had it. There's not much patience generally at these clubs, Inter, Milan, Juve, but at Juventus and Milan, the patience is beyond finished. It's literally, there is nothing. Like everyone has had it. And it's not just the coach, it's not just some of the players, it's the whole situation that the fans have had it with Juve, completely had it. And they need to make top 4 and then have a proper serious rebuild. And that's why I keep talking about Roberto Mancini, because look, in order to succeed at a club like Juve, you have to understand you have to be able to handle the pressure, you have to be able to handle everything around it. You have to be able to handle the internal politics of the squad vis-a-vis the board. You have to be able to handle the media. You have to be able to handle the fans, the expectations, all of those things. And, Roberto Mancini has won titles at Man City, at Inter, at Galatasaray, with Italy. These are tough, big, with Fiorentina, with Lazio. I mean, everywhere he's been, he's won trophies, and it's not been easy places to win trophies at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So
We'll have
so
time to.
he
We'll have
so
time.
he knows what it is, and also what people have to remember is that yes, Mancini is stubborn, yes,
Mm.
but he's also somewhat of a Renaissance man. The Mancini at Inter is not the Mancini at Italy 10, 15 years later. He changed completely.
Mm.
So he knows how to build from the back. He knows what
How
is
to
needed.
adapt.
He knows how to adapt, and above all, people talk about, we always talk about on this pod about young players needing getting a chance. Roberto Mancini is outstanding with young
But
players.
Mancini's best quality is actually his scouting, is his
Yeah,
player identification, knowing, and also joining in with the mercato. I don't know how well that will work with Giuntoli, to be honest, but he's very good at identifying players, even for Italy. I mean, he bought players for Italy as
yeah.
well. Let's be honest,
Retegui is
like
his.
Retzky, you know.
No, but not just that. Look at what he took over when Italy, after the Ventura flop, and Italy had this young group of players which he identified and built around for 2 years, ending up with winning the Euros.
Yeah.
And none of them were established stars; they were under 21 players, and
No,
he
for
saw
sure,
that.
for sure, for sure. I
So
mean,
for me, I
yeah.
just, yes, but then you have the other side, and that is he is a volatile character. He can get pissed off if he thinks things aren't working. He doesn't care. He's always been a bit of a anarchist in the sense of a
Mm,
rock star. Do you know what I mean? Like a punk rocker. He's always done his own thing. Like I've seen him do things which are hilarious to watch, but it's not
mm.
so good to have. He goes his own way. He's not a company man. He's not a da Juve kind of
No.
character. But
And also, he's coming off, and he's also coming off, failure, massive failure at Saudi Arabia, and a bad end to the Italy as well. So there is that as well. But listen, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Mancini, I'm sure, at the end of the season. But let's talk about Mancini's former team, Italy, and their absolutely epic game against Germany on Sunday evening in the UEFA Nations League quarter-final, second leg. The game finishes 3-3, which means Italy lose, go out 5-4 on aggregate after they'd lost 2-1 at home in the first game in Italy on last Thursday. So this game is quite difficult to analyse because the first half was one of the worst first halves we've ever seen in the history of the Italy national team. Italy were battered, completely destroyed. It was an embarrassing, humiliating performance by Italy, by every single player virtually on the pitch, especially by the defence. And at half time, I think, I even tweeted it, I think that there was the very real possibility of Spalletti's job being on the line if at half time, if Italy had gone on to lose this game 4-0, 5-0, I think we could have, I think he would have been at risk of potentially even being at risk of the sack.
I
Potentially,
agree. I
potentially.
agree.
The way that Italy played, that looked like watching Motta's Juve in those last two games. It looked like everything had gone, just nothing. Couldn't get past the halfway line. Couldn't pass the ball. We're getting outrun, outthought tactically. The speed of the two teams. It was like watching, like if you play, FIFA, beginner mode against expert mode. It was, the levels between the two teams. It was huge, the gulf, and it was terrible. I think we can still have that question in a minute. But the second half, after they got the 3-1, which did come from a mistake from Germany, although it was a great finish from Kean. They rallied. They actually showed some spirit and some fight, and they managed to get a 3-3 draw. And if they had have scored that, if they hadn't had that ridiculous decision, I can't believe that decision to overturn the first penalty. If that hadn't been overturned and they'd have scored that penalty, and with like 15, 13, 40 minutes plus, and there was 6 minutes of stoppage time, talking about almost 20 minutes left to play, they could have won that, potentially could have even won that game. So
Mm.
it was an unbelievable game to watch and to try and.
It was a game between two mentally fragile teams, and that's something that I never thought growing up when we did I'd ever say about Italy and Germany. But a Germany that loses a 3-0, a 3-goal advantage at home in 30 minutes like that, 40 minutes, or however many minutes it was unthinkable when we grew up. Equally, an Italy that doesn't know how to defend is unthinkable. Would have been unthinkable. And they literally don't know how to defend. There's so many things I want to take up, but just before on that penalty thing, I have no problem with if that decision is given or not given. I have huge problems with the VAR intervening there, unless Marciniak, the referee, said to the VAR in their communication that he didn't get the ball at all, he just took out the player. Well, then that makes it a real clear and obvious error because he did take the ball. But regardless, to me, like I have big question marks around why the VAR intervened. Personally, I don't think that was a penalty. But if it's given, you have to stand by. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't. The decision of giving the penalty, I'm either way. I don't think it's. I prefer not to give those kinds of penalties. I think it's very 50-50. But the VAR intervening and and the way that it intervened in that situation, I think is a problem. Because again, the clear and obvious error hinging on what the referee saw and what he said, and we don't know. I don't like that discrepancy. That's my biggest problem with clear and obvious error. I think it needs to be defined, and it can't be this wishy-washy. That's my problem with clear and obvious error. My problem in this situation is with a clear and obvious error requirement and how it's being used. I think it's way, way too wishy-washy. That's that. As for the game itself, I'm sorry, but Calafiori, Bastoni, and Buongiorno seem to know how to defend aerially when playing for Inter, Arsenal, and Napoli, but they don't seem to know how to defend or head the ball for Italy. That's a Spalletti problem. Italy cannot defend on set pieces. They look an abject mess defensively. What is it now? A year and a half into Spalletti's tenure. And okay, in attack, it looks good. They do it. They play well. I have serious question marks whether continuing with Spalletti is the right thing. Yeah. And the reason why I say this is, yes, I know Spalletti has played a 3-5-2 earlier in his career. Yes, I'm well aware that I've said that I think the most important part of Spalletti's tactical setup is the three-man midfield and how they build, and I still stand by that. But the problem is this. When you play a 3-5-2 or a 3-5-1-1, every system has its strengths and its weaknesses. I was expecting Spalletti to be able to mitigate for those weaknesses. So far, he has not. In fact, whenever Italy come up against a good team or a well-organized team, those weaknesses are ruthlessly exposed. And that is a problem. Now, we're going to get to the World Cup group, so I don't want to talk on that. But these two games against Germany have showed me that these are two teams with with certain specific fantastic strengths, but are mentally very fragile, tactically very, very fragile, in the sense that their weaknesses are so easily exploited, and the managers on the bench don't seem to know how to react to mitigate for that, which is a problem. And when it looks good, it looks really good. But when it looks bad, it's exactly like you said. It's one of the worst performances we've ever seen by Italy ever. And I think those are now adding up under Spalletti. The Switzerland game in particular is one of the worst games I've ever seen Italy play. His decision-making in that, which we did a post-mortem on that season, the lack of cohesion in pressing, the lack of organization, which you never see under a Spalletti squad. And then you're thinking, this is not looking good. Like, I'm not saying he should be sacked. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm raising the question because...
No, I think it's important that we have this discussion and not just be prisoners of the moment because they managed to get three goals in that second half. I wonder how much of those 3 goals were
Germany's fault.
Were Germany's fault because, well, let's be honest, we did not threaten at all. I think have a look at the stats in the first half. It was something like 18 shots to 1 or something, 18 shots to 2 or something stupid like that. But we didn't create anything. We didn't do anything until they made a mistake. That was a gift. The goal for Moise Kean was a huge mistake. Kimmich passed it straight to him. Brilliant finish. Don't get me wrong. And we'll come to Kean after and how he was a positive. But that was gifted to them. And also the third goal was a gift as well. I mean, it was a punch for a penalty.
That's one of the most insane handballs I've seen. Like, I don't understand players that jump into aerial situations with their hands above their heads.
Yeah,
like, stop doing that.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is, I don't know how much of this was down to Germany taking their foot off the gas. It's so easy for them. They just took it a little bit easy. How much of it was also down to Germany running out of gas? I mean, they ran hard. They didn't pace themselves well enough. But I do think, yes, I think the question needs to still be had about Spalletti because, let's start with the defence. Defensively, Italy have got no hope of achieving anything under Spalletti, defending as they have been. Let's be honest, for a year now, throughout his reign. I mean, Italy have got one clean sheet in 12 games now, and whoever seems to play in defence, and we'll come to a chair. I want to talk about Acerbi when we talk about the World Cup group. But whoever plays in defence, whether it's Buongiorno, whether it's Calafiori, one played the first game, and Calafiori played the first game, Buongiorno played the second game. It doesn't matter who plays. The defending is embarrassing. That second goal sums Italy under Spalletti up perfectly in terms of their defence, but just in general. I mean, have a look at that defending. That is something that if a schoolboy team did that, they'd be absolutely hammered if they did that. If a schoolboy team did that, for this to be done at this level, there's a corner and there's a photo where there are 10 players in the shot of this photo when Kimmich is just about to cross the ball into the middle to be. Who scored the goal? Was it Musiala that scored the second goal? The cross comes in. There's 10 players, 10 Italy players, including Donnarumma, the goalkeeper, that are in the area. Not one of them is looking at the corner or notice it. 10 players. All 10 Italy players that were in the penalty area on that corner did not even notice or spot that corner was being taken. I just find that astonishing. And for me, that shows you where Italy are at under Spalletti, how there is no organisation. Defensively, the team are just not drilled. Mentally, they're just not there at all, mentally. And the team seems to lack leadership, whether that's on the players or it's on the coach. It's probably on both. These are players like Bastoni, like Buongiorno, players that you think are top defenders, and there's just no leaders in this team at all. No organisation from the players. The first goal, again, horrific. The penalty that was given away. Maldini gives the ball away so easily. Germany break into the area behind Ricci so easily. Then the ball's played so easily behind the Italy defence. Buongiorno's out of position. Bastoni, I don't know where the hell he is. And then Buongiorno pulls him back. I mean, the number of goals, set pieces, as I discussed on the post match on Thursday. Another set piece goal conceded in this game. I mean, 2 if you want to include the penalty, which maybe we shouldn't include. 9 set piece goals conceded. 9 goals from dead balls conceded in the last 6 games. 9. And another 2 goals on top of that in that time that are conceded off crosses. Spalletti's team are not able to defend set pieces and not be able to set up a team to defend set pieces, and they're not able to defend crosses. I'm sorry, you can't succeed. You can't succeed. Italy are going to struggle to even qualify. We'll come to it. Italy are going to struggle to even qualify for the World Cup again if this is how they defend.
Without a doubt, I agree with every single syllable there, and I think it's the fact that you've got players that we know are good because they have been good in their careers, and and they can't seem to do the simplest of defending. I mean, if you look at Di Lorenzo, I know that there are question marks as him as a right centre back, but he's struggling to send a simple pass to a teammate in this team. You know, it's a big problem, and these are structural issues, and these are problems I did not expect Italy to have under Spalletti. I'll tell you that much.
Well,
This is all on him. He's way too experienced, and he's way too good to have these problems at this level after a year and a half. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not good enough, and that's why I'm more harder on. We're not talking Ventura here, you know. We're not talking about a mid-table coach who got lucky and got the job for his services to Italian football because no one else wanted it, and it wasn't a very good team, and basically he was sacrificed. But it's just the structural issues are what I think are the biggest issue here, and why I think that the discussion needs to be had, because it's concerning. It's very, very concerning.
And just to finish off on the set pieces, I do also want to point at Donnarumma as well as all the defenders. But Donnarumma, I think he has to be more commanding and come off his line better on set pieces and crosses, but especially set pieces. I mean, there was an incident, I made a note of it, in the 14th minute where a free kick from the left came in and he didn't come out, and the ball was only a few yards away. It was like halfway inside the 6-yard box, and he stayed on his line. Anything that's in the 6-yard box has to be the goalkeeper's. It has to be. The goalkeeper has to take everything that's in the 6-yard box. But in general, and anybody that's watched a lot of PSG will tell you that Donnarumma on corners has not been good for PSG through most of his career. He's never, for Italy, that's never seemed to be a problem. He's always played well for Italy. But with this set piece crisis that started to, rear its head in recent games, especially in these two matches, Donnarumma's got to do more. We need leadership on set pieces. We need organisation from set pieces. Obviously, the buck stops with Spalletti. That's down to him. He's got to organise it when he does the work on the training ground, zonally, man marking, positionally, how he trains his players to be ready for these situations, like that ridiculous second goal. That's on him, but it's also on the players. The players need to be leaders. We need a leader to step up, organise these players, and communication is terrible. Like the goal that was conceded for the Germany equaliser in the first game, where you've got Di Lorenzo and Bastoni just not communicating with each other, and the players in the middle of the two of them and scores. Just horrific. So it's also on the players as well, but number one, it's on Spalletti. And this is, like you said, it's very worrying. I was also, what made me worry and what made me make comparisons to Motta was in the first half, or until the first goal that Kean scored, Italy couldn't even put two passes together. Their passes were awful. They couldn't break the press at all. And every single pass that went forward was getting intercepted or wiped out by a Germany player pressing into that area. And as a result, any balls out of the defence into the kind of the middle area, the middle of Italy's half, let's say, Germany were just cutting it out and then starting the next attack. And structurally, like you said, that's very concerning, because you think that Spalletti's at least going to have those patterns to get out. Now, maybe we can say, okay, we're playing against Germany. They're one of the best teams in Europe and the world. But if Italy are going to try and challenge for trophies and be successful, then they can't be outplayed as they have been. On the ball in these two games, there's been a gulf in class between. We have to be honest. The gulf in class between Germany and Italy in possession, in the pressing game, in the physical side of things, in terms of energy and the speed of the game, it's been massive. Italy have managed to, in this game somehow bring it back to 3-3. But it's worrying. I am worried. I'm very worried. And there's lots of questions on Spalletti right now.
Without a doubt.
But Nima, and this is I wanted to, before we talk about the positive, again, is this also a sign of where Italian football is? We've spoken about it in club football. You know, the embarrassment of the Champions League with Juventus, Milan going out to Dutch teams, and Atalanta going out to a Belgian team. And, you know, do we lack the players and the options? I mean, I have you look at the attack. Okay, Kean, but Daniel Maldini starting with how many goals has he got? 2 goals all season, you know?
Yeah,
And the alternative is
I don't
Raspadori.
want to say anything too mean, but I think the problem of raccomandazione is serious, not just in Italian football, but around Italian society as a whole. I think it's a problem not just in Italy, it's a problem everywhere. People who have the right DNA and last name getting chances they don't deserve because they come from a certain family, they know the certain people. In no uncertain terms is that kid good enough to play for Italy. There is nothing he has done in his career that warrants a call up to the Italy national team. Nothing. If his name was Rossi and he wasn't the son of Paolo Maldini, he would not be in the Italy national
If it
team.
was Salvatore Smith, he wouldn't.
Yeah, Salvatore Smith. Yes, if this was Salvatore Smith, he would not be in the Italy national team.
Yeah,
I don't.
I listen. I think he has a great shot, but apart from that,
What has he done in his career?
I think that's the point. That's the big point. What has he done to get a call up? That's the question you should be asking.
That's what I am asking.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I prefaced it with. What has he done to warrant not just a call up, but to start for the Italy national team?
Is it also a sign of, you know, forget the raccomandazione? Is it also a point of, well, how many options do Italy actually have in attack, especially for this support striker role, which we don't seem to have anybody. I mean, Raspadori's basically sat on the bench for the entire season until the last month when it was enforced for Conte to use him. You know, I saw that
because he changed formation.
Yeah. So we've got Raspadori, who is not really up to the level either. Let's be honest.
No, I think he's decent. I think
he's
just
decent. Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. Decent. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, I saw that Zaccagni, who came on, there was a chance he wasn't going to make this second game, and Italy put a player on standby to come up to be called up if he didn't make it, and that player on standby was Luca Coglioscio, who plays for Burnley. He's a reserve for Burnley in the Championship. I think he has that magic 2 goals this season as well, just like Maldini. I mean, is it really that bad that we're now down to reserve players in the Championship as our options in attack? The very fact that he's an option and that he's on the list of possibilities, I mean, it's hugely concerning. And that's a bigger problem. You know,
but we have to remember Retegui was injured, Di Marco was injured, there were players who were injured. One thing I do want to say, though, just completely off topic, Destiny Udogie needs to leave Tottenham Hotspur. It's this. If I'm Napoli and if Antonio Conte stays at Napoli, they have to bring in Destiny Udogie. He would work fantastically for Conte, and the Italy national team needs those options. He's a great talent. He's wasting away.
He had a really good season last season. Excellent first season. This season, yeah, he's really has gone down. I mean, he's had injury problems.
He needs to move away from that.
He did have a bad injury. Maybe he's not fully recovered from it. But I agree. This season, he's not had a good season.
I want them all back. I mean, Calafiori's doing well at Arsenal. I think he's developing.
Not even starting for Arsenal.
Yeah, but it's his first season. I cut him some slack. I still think that Arteta's. You know, I like that he works. He plays for Arsenal. He's a rotation player at Arsenal. This is his first season.
The problem I have with Calafiori is this: it's positional. For Arsenal, he's mainly been playing as a fullback, a left back, because it's Gabriel and Saliba start all the time. Then he's played left back, but now he's even lost his left back position to this Miles Skelly, 17-year-old, who scored on his England debut at the weekend. And so he's lost his starting role there. But regardless of losing his starting role, even when he was playing more at left back, he's then going from left back for Arteta, which he often goes into centre midfield as well, and then comes to Italy and plays what in a 3-man central defence, which he never really played either for Bologna. He played in a 2-man centre defence.
Yeah, that's something else that I don't want to see ever again. Okay, I don't want to see Bastoni played in the middle of the back 3. I want him to play as a left centre back. Buongiorno should be in the middle, and Calafiori should be to the right. That's how they should play. This needs to stop. If you're going to play those three, you play Calafiori to the right or in the middle. You do not play Bastoni in the middle.
Yeah. But then even playing Calafiori to the right centre-back, it's not his role. He's left-footed. Again, it's playing players that are not playing in their proper roles, their natural roles, or their positions they're playing for their clubs, or in their systems they're playing in their clubs. I mean, it just adds to the confusion, I think, that the Italy defence is showing. But anyway, positives. Moise Kean. Moise Kean is the big positive, is the one thing that we can take from this game. I thought both finishes were brilliant finishes. They were clinical, lethal. They were, what they were like? They were Gabriel Batistuta finishes, again, making the Fiorentina comparisons. They were Batistutas. They were out of your feet, bang, hit your spot. No chance for the goalkeeper. First one was a rocket. Like, the goalkeeper didn't even, it was past him before the goalkeeper could even move. Hit it early, bang. Even in the first game, I said on my post-match, I said maybe Kean lacked quality in that first game. He showed quality in the second game. But at least he put himself about. He was a nuisance. He caused, he really physically gave it to Tar, who's a strong, big giant of a man. I'd rather have a striker that will, if he lacks quality, will at least put himself about, will work hard for the team, will be tireless, and will show the right kind of mentality, something that all the other Italy players lacked for most of this game until that comeback. So I think Kean has to be we have to, if we're going to take something, we have to say that it was fantastic. That was a fantastic, also for his growth for the future.
No, absolutely. I like that Kean has scored twice. I like that he because I really think that what we're seeing this season is him raising his level. And I think that's good. With Retegui going to be the capocannoniere, with him, you got two number 9s that you can play with different characteristics. Raspadori, I think, is going to move in the summer or move someplace where they play with a 2-man attack. I think that's going to speak to his. So you've got 3 players there already that are doing well. Hopefully Lorenzo Luca moves away, so you might have 4. It's just the second striker role that you might have to, either play a 3-5-1-1 or a 3-5-2 if that you're looking for that. But I'm not too worried about that. What I am worried about, my worries with Italy are not qualitatively, I have to be honest with you. My worries are tactically and with Spalletti. Is he the right man for the job? That's the biggest question I'm asking right now. And because if you look at these, we're not talking about, this isn't Italy in 2010 with 33-year-olds past their best. Okay, we're talking about players in their mid-20s in the peak of their careers, some towards the peak of their careers, and they can't make anything work. So to me, this is a structural issue and a technical issue, and that is, I put that squarely with Spalletti, and that's why I don't know, but what I do know is, if you're going to do something, you need to do it now.
Yeah.
You can't wait. If you're going to be proactive, you need to be proactive. You need to have a conversation with Spalletti and ask him how he sees the issue. Is he aware of it? How does he analyze it? What is his solutions to it? And if you're not happy with those solutions, then you have to move away from him.
And if we do go rid of Spalletti, if we look at the options, we're talking about who's available now. We're talking Mancini, bringing Mancini back. We're talking Max Allegri is available. Maurizio Sarri is available. Those 3 are available. Then we're talking about coaches who could potentially leave at the end of the club season, but is that too late?
Ancelotti could leave at the end of the club season.
Ancelotti potentially. Gasparini potentially. Is there anyone else? Thiago Motta, anybody?
No, Antonio Conte maybe.
Antonio Conte,
that's a long shot. But I mean, there are options. I still think that. I mean,
he's not going to get sacked now. I think
he's not going to get sacked.
The recovery,
now,
the comeback has saved his.
But this is the thing, though. I wonder if this is a Pyrrhic victory, because I don't know how much of that. It's great to see reaction and it's good to see fight and so on and so forth. But I think we're paper plastering over a hole in the wall here.
That's my concern as well after watching the first half of this game, and that's my concern. But I mean, let's talk about Italy's World Cup 2026 qualifying group now, because Italy's group is now known, if they'd have won this game against this tie against Germany, they would have been in Group A with Slovakia, Northern Ireland, and Luxembourg. But they lost, So they now go into Group I with Norway, Moldova, Estonia, and another team, and that means that they've got an extra team in their group. I'll go through. Let me read through the fixtures. Actually, let's go through and tell everybody what our schedule is, because it's very important, the schedule, because we now play our first qualifiers in June, 2 qualifiers at the start of June, whereas if we'd have won this tie, we would have started in September. So if we go to, let me get the group up. UEFA Groups 2026 World Cup qualifiers. So let's go down to Group I, and we have our first game is the big one. It's against the best team in the group. It's the team that we're going to fight against for first place, and that is Norway. Norway on the 6th of June away in Oslo. Then we play against Moldova on the 9th of June. Then we play against the team we won't name away, in Hungary on the 8th of September. Then we play away at Estonia on the 11th of October. Then we play on the 14th of October at home against the team we won't name. Then we play away at Moldova, 13th of November, in our penultimate game away. And then our final game is against Norway at home. So that is our schedule. Now, how to qualify? The top team qualifies for the World Cup automatically. But second place only qualifies for the playoffs, where if we were to finish second, we would play in a one-legged semi-final at home because of our seeding, then a one-legged final, which will be drawn if it's home and away, so home or away. So it could be away. If everybody remembers that we played Macedonia in the playoffs last time, and if we'd have won that game, we would have played Portugal away in the final. Which we'd have had to win to qualify. As it happened, we lost to Macedonia, so we didn't even get to the final. So it's not easy once you get to that playoff stage. I'm very critical of this format, Nima. I think it's ridiculous that we've got a World Cup that has expanded from 32 teams to 48 teams, 16 extra teams, but it's actually not really no easier to qualify from Europe than it was before, because still it's only one team. It's still like the last time. It's still only one team that qualifies from the group. And the other team then has to go through a semi-final, one-legged semi, and a one-legged final, which is one-off games. It's anything can happen in one-off games. It'd be better as a two-legged game, so you risk, if you don't finish top of your group, you really do risk not qualifying for the World Cup, and I think that's ridiculous. That the 16 extra teams, and it's still no easier. But anyway, goal difference separates teams level on points. So if we finish level with Norway, it will come to goal difference. And let me just tell you that Norway have already played their first game, and they've got another game tomorrow. Norway won 5-0 away at Moldova. So they're already looking really good for their goal difference. By the time they play us, they'll probably have 6 points. You'd imagine they'll have 6 points. And then we play them on the 6th of June. That game immediately becomes absolutely huge for Italy, whether they're going to qualify for the World Cup. Because if Italy lose that game to Norway, then we're looking at Norway probably with 9 points already from 3 games. We have 0 points after 1 game. We're massively playing catch up. Because the other teams in this group are all pretty weak, the chances of Norway dropping points after that are very, very slim, let's say. So Italy will basically have to win probably every single game in the group, take it to that very last game against Norway at home. And even then, a win might not be enough, because it will come to goal difference. They might even have to get a big win at home to Norway to qualify. So the bottom line is this, Nima. That first game away to Norway is massive.
Italy can't lose that game. They have to draw that minimum. And it's that simple. Italy need 4 points from those games. Very, very simply put. Don't worry about the goal difference. You need to draw Norway away and beat Norway at home, and then do your job against the others. It's very, very simple. It's really, really that simple. And looking at Estonia and Moldova, I'm sorry, if Italy can't beat those teams, what are we even doing here? I'm sorry, like literally Estonia, Moldova, home and away. That's 12 points. You have to win those. I don't care about 6-0, 5-0, whatever. That's just win those games. And 4 points against Norway. That's the key. And then you're through. And to be honest, Norway are a decent side. Yes, Haaland is great. Sørloth is great. Ødegaard is fantastic. I mean, they do have a decent side, Norway. They do have a golden generation. Speaking of terms I absolutely hate in football. But they do have a golden generation, and Norway should be able to qualify for a tournament soon with this much quality in the squad. So it's going to be tough for Italy against Norway, absolutely. But yeah, it's. But looking at it overall, I'm sorry. Of course, Italy should go through. I mean, what are we doing here? And even if they finish second, they'll play a one-legged home and away against other teams that have finished like top of their Nations League groups that haven't already qualified for Europe. So qualified for the World Cup, which means you can remove all the top teams anyway, right? So shouldn't Italy have to qualify, and if they don't, I don't know what to tell you.
Listen. I mean, first of all, Norway is going to be difficult. I mean, they're a team of giants to start with.
Yeah.
I mean, as you would kind of imagine, Haaland, Sørloth. I mean, these guys are like 6'4", 6'5". They've got other big guys as well. What's his name? The centre back that used to play for Napoli, Ødegaard, who's brilliant in the air. Like one of the best players. It was one of the best players in Serie A in the air. Not so strong in other areas, but brilliant in the air. With a Italy team that aerially have been a disaster on crosses and set pieces. I mean, yeah, and that's our next game. Ødegaard there too, of course. They've got some other youngsters. It's going to be a very difficult game. That first game is massive, like you said. Have to avoid a draw. I want to ask the question though, and Spalletti was asked this after the game against Germany. He was asked by journalists, should he bring back Francesco Acerbi at least for that game against Norway, given that Acerbi has completely pocketed Erling Haaland in not one but two games, Champions League final, and then again at the start of this season. Assuming he's fit, Nima, would you agree with bringing back Acerbi, not just for Haaland, but also to bring some blooming organisation and some leadership into that defence?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that if Acerbi, but if Acerbi is fit, I mean, he's been great since coming back. But then again, at that age, you really don't know, because that's when your body starts going, and he's done fantastically recovering and the level he plays at. So I think it's a big risk. Put it to you that way.
We're talking one game here, aren't we? We're not talking about
but we don't even know
tournament
if he's
or whatever.
No, I get that. I think I'm just saying, yes, if Acerbi is fit, then absolutely. We've seen him pocket Haaland and many better than him even before. And he gives stability, and he's calm. He's got leadership. He's got character. He leads by example. But I think it's a long way away. I think the problems that Italy have are, as we said, they're tactical, they're technical, there's no structure. Those are issues he needs to resolve, regardless of if Acerbi is available in September or October.
Sure, there's lots of things he needs to resolve. There's no doubt about that. But I just think that Italy's biggest problem defensively right now is they can't defend set pieces, they can't defend crosses, and they have no organisation in defence. And I think Acerbi will massively help in all those areas. And when you've got a game like Norway, where if you lose that game, there is the real possibility that that's top first place could be gone just by losing that game, and then you're talking about a playoff and potentially not qualifying for the World Cup again. I mean, I think you call him up, provided he's fit.
Well, of course, like I said, if he's fit and he's still playing and he hasn't retired, then yeah. But again, you don't know.
Spalletti basically said no, though. I mean, I guess he's got to say that because he doesn't want to kill his own players that are there at the moment. But I think, I think when we get closer to the time, I hope that he will change his mind and call him up. Just before we finish, though, kind of our squad. We've talked about Acerbi, but what other players that were kind of in this squad do you believe shouldn't be kind of a part going forward? And which players that were not part of this squad, should we be looking to use more ahead of this World Cup qualifying campaign?
I mean, I think Di Marco and Retegui for sure. They're going to definitely be back. And they should be back. They were, it was down to injury more than anything. And as for, I just don't think if looking at how he has performed so far, I just don't think Maldini should be in the squad. I don't think he has any business there at all. I think Lorenzo Luca, Kean, Retegui, Raspadori, Politano, I'd also call up. I think it was nice to see Casadei just, being shown the ropes a little bit. I like, there are young. I think Bellanova needs to show more at Atalanta, and because I don't think he was good enough in this call up either.
No.
But overall, I think I like that Comuzzo. I like Comuzzo. I'd like to see him, see what we can do with him, because I think he's kind of a more old school central defender in the sense that he's more defender than he's going forward. Yeah, as the goalkeepers, I don't think Vicario and Meret deserve call-ups. I think it should be Di Gregorio, and Carnesecchi. Those are my two I would have up. But overall, I think lots of those things will handle themselves. I think Di Marco and Retegui, when they're back from injury, will be called up. They have to be. And then we'll have to wait and see what happens with Acerbi. And if Spalletti
I think Cambiasso comes back, obviously, as well, adding to the ones to Di Marco and Retegui that you said. The problem is, if you look at our squad that were called up for these games, is the alternatives. We just really don't have many alternatives, unfortunately. So even if we say, yes, Maldini, he hasn't warranted the call-up, well, kind of like, well, who are the other options? I mean, other than Retegui, obviously, that will come in. We're talking Zaniolo, Chiesa, had about 300 minutes at Liverpool this season. Scamacca maybe once he gets fit again, but that's a long way. Long way for him to go. And then who are the other players? I mean, there just isn't the options. Or Salini, El Shaarawy. I mean, these are the options we've got. And then in midfield, there's a few. I mean, there's Pizzilli coming through. Yeah. I mean, Locatelli, Pellegrini, Bescianini. There's these players, but again, are they better than the players that are already in that midfield squad? Maybe Casadei probably hasn't, again, like Maldini, hasn't done enough to warrant a call up. So
Cesare Casadei, I mean, it's clear that they believe in him and they wanted to kind of give him this kind of what it is to be in the national team. I think it was that kind of a call up. It was more watch and see and learn kind of thing, experience. And I don't have any problems with that, because I think you need to ease players into a national team. So I have no problem.
Scalvini as well is the other one that hopefully once he gets fit, we hope that he can.
If he gets fit,
we hope that he can
rush him back.
Yeah,
which would be nice for a change.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think most of the team kind of picks itself, to be honest.
No, for sure. We have to qualify, and if we don't qualify, then.
Okay, sorry, accidentally.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody heard that that's listening. But
they did. I accidentally hit something there. Sorry. It's this thing. I need to, every time we record, I need to close it down, because it's got this stupid it's got this stupid sound effects on there, and sometimes you want to move things around on your screen and you accidentally hit these stupid sounds. Sorry about
that. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, I think that's our cue to move on.
Yes, that's the world's way of saying we need to move on.
We need to move on. So, just before we finish, Max Allegri, your man, and Fabio Paratici to Milan at the end of the season. It's getting closer, Nima. Fabio Paratici's close now, it seems, according to many reports, to being appointed as Milan's new sporting director. And if that happens, then of course that's going to make it much more likely that Allegri gets the job, because the links are growing there. They had dinner last week together, and Nima, this could actually happen.
Yeah, I think Paratici, like I said on the Q&A, I think we had a question on it on the Q&A. I can't remember if it was on the Q&A or not, or last week. But look, my position on Paratici is, I think Paratici, if he's given a budget, if he's controlled, not given the reins freely to run amok, because then everything goes to shit. But if he's kept within confined, this is the budget. You cannot move it. Don't start writing. Don't get creative, Fabio. This is what you've got to work with. And he works as part of a team where he has a CEO above him. I think he's a competent person to have. And I think he's exactly what Milan need. Because in the sense that he understands Italian football, he knows everybody, he's very well connected, he knows all the agents, he knows all the scouts. I think, and he's also a bit of a, pardon the language, French, but a bit of a dickhead. And I think Milan need someone who is a bit of a dickhead, who comes in there and points with a whole hand and says, "You shut up, I'll
I think
decide."
they've got one of them already, haven't they?
No, they don't. What they do have is someone who is not fit for the job he's been given, is what they have. And that's a problem. I think that, as I said I think it was last week on the Q&A, we spoke about this. The Paratici thing was a couple of weeks ago. I basically want to echo everything I said there and say that, look, I think Paratici, when he's held within the confines of a CEO above him, and people around him in a team, I think he's actually very competent. And I think, like I said, this is someone who has worked in Italian football at the highest level of Italian football before he became the main man at Juve, when Andrea Agnelli got really arrogant and decided to spend way above his means in this galactical stupidity with bringing Cristiano Ronaldo in, which they both concocted up together. And that's the root cause. That's the original sin of what was Juve's downfall. If they stay away from that, and he's working within a team with Scaroni and others who can control him, as a sporting director, he's one of the more competent people out there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to repeat what I said on the Q&A, but I hear what you're saying. If that structure depends how much power he's got. But I did also say on the Q&A that based on what he did as a sporting director, in terms of calling the shots at Juventus and Tottenham, he was a failure, big failure. So, it's a risk. I think you're kind of basing it on, I don't know, you're basing it basically on what he did under Marotta. And
Yes.
Marotta is...
And at
Marotta
Sampdoria, at Juve,
yeah. But what
where
I'm
they
saying is
built
you're
the
basing it on what he
foundations
did
of
under
something
Marotta,
unbelievable.
where Marotta is just a genius and is always it's been an incredible success. So, he's going to have to do that without Marotta if he goes to Milan, and even within a structure. So, it's a risk. If Allegri, though, comes in, do you think this? What do you think of the Allegri to Milan next? Do you think it's something that could happen?
Yes, I do think that it could happen, because Allegri gives stability, and Milan don't have stability at all. And that is a problem. I think that is something that Milan have understood now. I think that they need to build from scratch. Everything that they're not building on what Pioli built. They're not building on that. They're building from ground zero again. Everything that was built under Elliott with Pioli has been destroyed. They're back on ground zero. They're not building on anything. They're building from scratch. And in order to build from scratch, you need solidity. You need to get the basics right. And you need to be playing in the Champions League consistently, and not be a yo-yo club. And you need someone with a strong character, someone who knows how to build, someone who knows Italian football, someone who knows how to compete in 3 competitions at once, who can balance that, won't play the sexiest football, but won't be losing games the way that Milan have lost, won't be conceding the way that Milan have lost. Has won at Milan, which is not to be underestimated. Let's remember, he won a Scudetto there, ending Inter's dominance. So, all things considered, I think this is a little bit back to basics. I think this is Jerry Cardinale and Redbird basically doing a mea culpa, saying, okay, we got a little bit carried away and we went a little overboard on the whole Moneyball thing. And you can do that. You can still do that, but you still need to know where you are. You still need the structure. This is still Milan. Because if they're pissed off with the club and the ownership at Juve, then I think we need a new adjective to describe the level of annoyance that Milan fans have with this ownership and this squad and this team. And Milan need stability. They need to have someone there who's calm, who has a calming presence, who has a calming, who knows how to keep everything, politically, diplomatically, a company man. Football, politically speaking, I think Allegri is brilliant. Tactically, very solid. He will get Milan consistently in the top four. It wouldn't surprise me with a proper transfer window if they even, with him, competed for a Scudetto. I'm not saying they're going to win it. They're not anywhere near there where they can think of that. But it gives them a basis to build on, build from. After 2 wasted years.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll just throw in this quickly, if Paratici does get confirmed away from Allegri, also the other person to watch out for is Antonio Conte, because if Conte leaves Napoli at the end of the season, which is possible, as we've discussed, it's always possible with Antonio Conte. Paratici, the relationship with Conte, he brought into Tottenham, and I'm sure that Conte will look at the Milan project as being having a much higher ceiling than what is possible.
Oh, come on. It's not even close.
It's not even close, yeah.
No, but listen, it's not even that. It's really funny because now, Conte's looking at, because we know how he is, he's looking at becoming the first coach to win the Scudetto with Milan, Inter and Juve. His ego, that's shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
He would drop.
So all I'm saying is,
everything.
Yes, Allegri is possible.
I gotta say,
I'm just saying, don't the magician, the magician's trick of look in this direction but don't look in the other direction. That could be Allegri, Conte. That's all I'm going to say. It wouldn't surprise me.
What I'm going to tell you is, I think I still personally think that if there is a possibility to bring in Conte, they bring in Conte, without a doubt, because they don't want to do the whole reheated minestrone thing. Conte is a jolt of energy to the veins, and he's a winner, and he's a hard ass. He's not a company man, but he delivers results. He always delivers results.
Guess who may not even be in Europe next season?
Exactly. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
not that it would matter. I think
you know what I mean. It just always seems to happen that way, doesn't it?
No, but it's like, and also with Milan, there would be there's actually, he always complains about how he's never allowed to take over some place where he can, it's always coming back, blah blah blah. But at Milan, they're actually financially very sound and solid. They would be able to bring in the players he wants, and they would be able to build on something as well. For the first time since Juve, when he left Juve, when throwing his toys out the pram, because Marotta didn't want to pay 40 million for Juan Iturbe, because Marotta's not an idiot. But here, he would actually get.
God, I forgot about that guy. He was
10 years older, and 10, 15 years older, and hopefully 10, 15 years wiser. I think this could actually be some place where he could stay for 3-4 years and do something. I think what he's done at Napoli has everyone standing in awe of him. And I think he kind of reestablished himself by doing that. So, and the fact that they didn't do anything he wanted in January, and so maybe they risk losing the Scudetto because of that, it doesn't fall badly on him. So he's played the politics of it really well. So I'm with you on that. I personally think Allegri at this point, rather than going to Milan, I think he'd rather replace Spalletti in Italy. Right? That's just the way I read the team.
Yeah, that's another one I've seen doing the rounds among
and I would love it. I would love that. I think Allegri, with everything we're talking about, defensive structure, defensive solidity.
I'll give Allegri one thing.
Pieces.
At least Italy's set pieces will improve. That 100%, because Allegri
defensively
on
they
set
would.
pieces. That was the only way Juventus used to score. And and
not just that, defensively as well, and structurally, and and risk minimization, and all those
Yeah.
things that
Okay.
he like.
Let's not.
No, we're
No,
talking
let's
about
not praise.
this.
Let's not overdo it with the Allegri praise here.
No,
Okay.
but we're talking about this because I love how every time I mention Allegri to Italy national team, you want to change the subject
You
within a
know what? When it was
nanosecond.
3-0 in that Germany game, I was close to just giving up on my only remaining love in football. Italy national team. The only thing I love and look forward to and enjoy anymore in football. And I was just thinking, now you're taking this away from me as well. And that's what will definitely happen.
No, Allegri comes
Very
in, Italy
final
don't.
nail.
Allegri comes in, Italy don't concede a shot on target, let
Oh,
alone a goal.
oof,
Like
oof,
it's
yeah,
just,
like against Maccabi Haifa. Oof, yeah, right.
yeah.
Let's do the weekend fixtures. So, Como Empoli, Venezia Bologna, Juventus Genoa, Lecce Roma on Saturday. So first game for Tudor there for Juve. Sunday, Cagliari Monza, Fiorentina Atalanta, Inter Udinese, and then the big Napoli against Milan game. And then on Monday, we have Verona, Parma, and Lazio Torino. So Serie A is back, and this is the weekend. Well, huge weekend for Napoli because they need to, well, and for Milan. That's a huge game. Napoli have to win, otherwise we can almost, if they don't, we can almost probably rule them out for good, maybe from the Scudetto race. And
no.
Milan have to win because, well, they need to. They're trying to get back in that top four race. So huge.
But Napoli do well against the bigger sides. I think they struggle against the small sides. I mean, they what is it? Draws against Inter. They've beat Milan already. They beat Juve and they drew them. Like they do well against in big games. They did really well against Inter at home. They probably deserve to win
Well, they
that game.
have
They
to.
outplayed them.
Yeah, they'll have to anyway
So
for sure in this game.
yeah. So
Um,
I wouldn't. It's one of those things where I think he turns up for the big games, and that's another thing, an aspect of Italian football that people need to understand. If you want to get a big job, and you have to do well, you have to show yourself. It's exam time when you play the big teams.
mm,
That's one marker of how you judge a coach in Italy, is how they do well in the big games
mm,
as well.
for sure. Right. Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio of the week, I have two. First, I have Andrea Pirlo, who scored a trademark free kick in the Milan
Stunning, isn't it?
Legends against Tottenham Legends, and that came on Sunday afternoon. That did, and pretty much every comment was, "Oh, if only Pirlo could play for, well, not only for Milan, but could play for Italy later
I mean
later
that
on."
free kick.
Yeah.
It's still the movement. I know he's older. He's he's
Mm.
not as fit as he used to be. He's put on a little bit of weight as everyone does as you get older. But the movement, the just the like blasé kind of
Mm.
simple jogging movement, and then the simple it looks like he's barely hitting the ball, and then that magical swerve. It's timeless, isn't it?
Oh, just brilliant, yeah. Especially as no one can take free kicks anymore in modern football because of these
Mm.
crappy plastic balls that he still can manage to. He still can manage to score a free kick, can't he? So yeah, that was beautiful to see. And the other Baggio of the week is Pescara.
On Twitter,
On
if
Twitter.
you
If you
know, you
know,
know.
yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say on that. Prem face of the week. Do you have a Prem face?
No, I've not seen any good ones. When the international, I've been so exhausted. I've been zoning out from.
Hmm. I've
I
I've
took
got
a break
I've
from
got
Prem
one.
Faces.
I've got one.
What?
Tim Sherwood.
What is it?
Tim Sherwood, who's definitely in the, I think, top five Premface rankings, no doubt about it. So he went on. He was talking about England after they beat. Who did they beat? They won 2-0 against Albania. They won 2-0 against Albania in their first World Cup qualifier. And Tim Sherwood said after the game that it would be a massive failure from Thomas Tuchel if he didn't win the World, if he failed to win the World Cup with England. So they've already started. First World Cup qualifier, they're already talking about winning the World Cup. So there we go.
I just have to say that the racist abuse towards Miles Skelly, like for being called up for England, is just it's been disgusting to follow and watch.
I haven't actually followed it. What? Who was it by?
Well, no, it's just on social media that people have just some people think like it's just been disgusting. It really has been. All he's done is he's just been called up to the national team. That's it. That's his crime, and he scored a goal. and the abuse that I've seen, and it's been a talking point. I've seen it. People have been quite disgusted. It's been really, really vile to see. Like everything you can imagine. It's quite gross, to be honest. It's
Yeah,
been quite
yeah,
gross.
as always. Well said. Serie ASS of the week. Right, get ready for this one. So,
Okay, are you allowed to say this without us being sued? Like, is this like officially been reported somewhere?
the bit that I will quote from has been,
Okay, good.
but I will be careful how I
Be
say this.
very careful.
Yes. So another week in Serie A, another TV rights crisis. You know that we've been talking about it a lot this season about all the rights holders around the world and just how abysmal many of the offerings of Serie A football has been. Well, the latest crisis is in India right now. You may remember at the start of the season that we talked about this, that somehow the Liga Serie A had made the decision to sell TV rights in India to a gaming website called GXR, Galaxy Racing. And all season, and we've had this from many kind of fans that are based in India, that the delivery has been shambolic. I mean, they actually had no platform to show the games when they bought the rights, but that didn't stop the Lega Serie A or Infrants who do the selling to sell it to them. And it's been basically beset by problems: poor streaming, freezing in matches, double commentaries. I've been told by some people that we watch a game in Serie A there, and there's the commentary comes up twice. And now I've been told that basically less than a season into the 3-season deal, there's already a bit of risk with whether it's going to continue and everything. And there are some. I'm going to be careful and not say this, but there are some big problems and there are some concerns, not only with the Serie A deal that GXR have, but also the La Liga deal and also the Ligue 1 deal. And they have actually not even been showing some of the La Liga games in recent rounds as well, which kind of tells you some of the issues that they're having there. So none of this really comes as a surprise, really. I mean, Nima. I mean, who would have thought you sell your TV rights to a gaming website with no platform and things would go wrong? I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean,
It's just, to me, it just goes to show that they don't either. It's one of those two things. One of the following two things: either they don't care about India, a country of 1.4 billion, which is
a
insane,
huge
and
market,
they just wanted to get some good money for it, and then that's it. Or
which they
they were
may not even
desperate.
get, by the way. Let me just say.
Yeah, exactly. Or they just either they don't care about that, and they just wanted a bit of money, or they were desperate and they just needed to. They just signed something without doing their due diligence, just to get rid of it, which is again is insane in the sense that you need to focus globally. You cannot just focus on one market and think that market is going to save you. This is not
It's the
1958.
Americans, yeah.
Yeah, it's not 1958. This isn't post Second World War world.
Well, let me just
It's
before you expand on
it's
that,
2025.
just to explain to you how ridiculous this decision was to sell the TV rights to GXR. And I'm going to read out a story that was in Express Sport in January 2025, right? And I'm going to quote. Despite early optimism, Galaxy Racer has faced numerous challenges. Although the company initially attracted significant investment, internal turmoil and operational difficulties soon became apparent. Employees reported delays in receiving payments, and there were several rounds of layoffs as the company struggled with its financial health. These issues were compounded by difficulties in executing its esports events and partnerships, which hindered its ability to fulfill expectations. In 2023, Galaxy Racer's operations in North America were paused, and by early 2024, the company had closed its headquarters in Dubai. CEO Paul Roy reportedly fled the UAE amid mounting legal concerns. In a move that shocked many, Galaxy Racer then redirected its efforts towards launching a football streaming service in India under a new entity, Celestial Media and Entertainment Private Limited. Despite still owing millions to employees, vendors, and esports teams, Galaxy Racer seemed intent on rebranding itself as a major player in the media and entertainment space. And then this is the key sentence here. As of mid-2024, Galaxy Racer still owed between $20 to $30 million in outstanding payments to various stakeholders, including esports teams, content creators, and vendors. $20 to $30 million owed by Galaxy Racer as of mid-2024. So what did the Liga Serie A do? What did Ana Guarnerio, or the agency Infront Sports, who sell TV rights for Serie A, do? They went and sold the Serie A TV rights to Galaxy Racer, who owed between $20 to $30 million. And here we are in March 2025, and we're learning that the deal, I don't want to say too much more, but the deal could be at risk between the Liga and Galaxy Racer, and the same for La Liga and the same for Liga, who obviously run just as stupidly and badly as well. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. It's you sell to this company. I mean, did you not do your due diligence? Did you not do your research? You sell to the company that owes all this money with this reputation, and you expect it to go well. I mean, it just sums up how badly we sell our TV rights. And
I don't understand. It's reached a point now where I don't understand why they just don't put it on YouTube and charge people there. In those, everyone in the world has YouTube. If you don't have the money and resources to market and brand and build your own platform and streaming service, instead of going to these companies or just selling it off like this, when you don't know who they are, you don't even have, let's say you don't even have the budget to do your due diligence. Okay, great. If you want to put all your eggs in the basket of the United States and Canada and certain European countries, fine. Then in the rest of the world, where they do have YouTube, put it there and make it a monthly membership so that people can pay it, and then you have the English world feed use that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand that YouTube take 30%, but then put 30% on top of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is better than this, because you're not getting any money, and you risk finding yourself chasing the person that was going to pay you, and you risk spending money chasing them to get paid. So,
and it's not just that; it's what this does to the way that this damages the product, the value of the product. Going forward is the reason why the Serie A, the reputation of the Serie A, and the value of the Serie A, and the value of these TV deals plummets year after year. Because when we go and sell the TV rights, we sell them to companies who are not able to put on the product, who might not have the money to pay for the product, who provide a product which is just not good enough, streams that freeze, people that can't watch the game. And we've had it from all around the world. We've had it in Africa with Super Sports. We've had stories in Australia. We've had stories even in the UK. People paying to watch and then not even being able to watch the games, or watching a game for 58 minutes and then it turns over to a La Liga game instead after 58 minutes, which is what happened in Super Sports in Africa, or what happened in Australia, where poor Australians are getting up at early hours in the morning at 4 a.m, 5 a.m. to watch their teams play, and then they can't even watch it, and then they try and make a complaint to I can't remember who was the company in Australia. I can't even remember.
I think it was beIN.
Yeah, it was beIN, wasn't it?
But they bought. But we were told by several of our Australian patrons. Big shout out to them, by the way. I love how we've become a community, the Patreon community in the chat, where everyone was saying because we've got people.
Yeah, they were troubleshooting.
Yeah, they were troubleshooting, saying, listen, cancel it there, then go on Amazon and sign up there, and it works perfectly. Like, they just resolved it. Because our patrons resolved it for one another.
Resolved it because there is no beIN had no customer service, so you couldn't even get hold of them, which is just insane. I mean, this is what we're talking about, So this is why, again, everything all comes down to this. If how can you have a strong Serie A when these are the clowns that are in charge, How can you be economically strong in Serie A when you have these people in charge? How can you have strong teams, Juventus, Milan, Inter, let alone the other teams? And then how can you have a strong national team when the people that are running Italian football are so incompetent? It's all one. Everybody's responsible for this, and it's astonishing. The incompetence is unreal. We really have no hope with these people in charge. I'm sorry to say it. We have no hope.
No hope. But yeah, you're not wrong.
No soap, no hope, as they say.
I can't say that I'm. Yeah, I can't say that I'm very optimistic either. If I put it
really.
Yeah. To put it mildly, to put it diplomatically, I can't say I'm too optimistic either. Yeah. Like, honestly.
But don't worry, Nima. Don't worry. We're going to have one game a season in America.
Yeah, the Americans are going to save us, right? No, it's like it's the way they run things. It's like it's 1955. And I don't understand. Like it's 2025, but the way that they view the world, the way they view the markets, the way they view marketing, the way they just do everything. It's like 1955, but everyone has an iPhone or a Android phone, and it's astonishing to me.
But not a working internet though.
Yeah, well,
not fast internet.
Hey, exactly. Like don't. No, but it's astonishing to me. I don't understand how in this day and age of a market of a 1.4 billion people, an emerging economy, and you're not, you just don't, you just don't care. You have you don't put any effort into it at all. And it's funny because when you look at it, because if they actually did a bit of market analysis themselves, when they were boasting about how they've grown so much in America, it's because they've grown in the Hispanic sector, not the English-speaking sector, but the Hispanic sector, the Hispanic market in America. That's why they're growing. That's their own statement saying it, because they cater to that audience in Spanish. And as it turns out, when you do that, when you create a product for a specific group of people in a country, they're interested in buying it. Who knew? And it's like, why don't you do that for India?
As I responded to that, how much is the value of the TV deal? Has it gone up,
or that's fair enough.
Has it gone down?
But listen, that's a separate discussion. My point is, that's how you grow. That's how you grow an audience. When you grow an audience, then you can increase the value of the.
Well, fine,
of the
grow
TV
the
deal.
audience. Then let's see you monetize the audience, and let's.
Well,
let's see.
My point is simply that if you have to cater to your audience, you can't just expect like that. I have no problem with the TV deals not being worth as much if they actually build something long term, catering to the audience of that location. If they do it to India, but they actually have someone in India working towards the Indian market over a 5-10 year period of time, that could be very profitable. Or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is the market is not just...
Same with China.
Yeah.
Same with all over, like
the market,
Arabic-speaking countries.
Market,
do you know what I mean?
That's the entire point, though. The market isn't just America. The market is there's a whole world out there.
There's a whole world out there. And that's what I mean, that they look at the world like it's 1955, but everyone has an iPhone.
Yeah, and the failures in all these other markets, including now India, is just embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It is. It's a shame. It really is a shame, because it's the Premier League is so many miles ahead, and they're working on this thing that I've been banging on about creating their own streaming platform.
Yeah.
And once that's out there, they're going to secure, because then they cut out the middleman essentially.
No, listen, we're already there with this. They're already the Super League, and it's not just Serie A. Like I said, in India, it's also Liga, and La Liga also sold their TV rights to this GXR. These other leagues are also just as pathetically badly run as well. They're all a shambles. It's not just us. It's pretty much everywhere.
Oh, misery loves company, eh?
Yes, exactly, exactly. Anyway, on that positive...
This is an insane episode, from lunar models to ending on that. Is just I still can't believe you. I know you sent me the screenshot and I've read it, but I still can't believe that. Like I still cannot get over.
Some people don't believe that the moon landing was real, so maybe this moon landing wasn't real as well. Maybe.
I'm sorry, but that is insane. I can't believe. Why is a football club
Neil Armstrong faked the moon landing with Stanley Kubrick. So maybe this what's his name? What's this Armstrong's
I
name?
call him as something else. This is his
Mark.
great grandson or
Yeah,
something.
Mark Armstrong, or his grandson. We just call him
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong's grandson.
Neil Armstrong's grandson.
Maybe he faked this as well.
This is mental. Like that is the most insane story. I can't believe. Was this recent, by the way?
Yeah. This is 2025. Yeah.
Okay. I just can't believe that. That is the Serie AS to all end Serie ASs to me. Like football clubs sponsoring lunar shuttle, like intergalactic space travel, and it's just I don't. Yeah, I'm done. I'm finished. It's over. I'm done. Like that's it.
I've broken Nima. I've broken him. I've done it, everyone.
I'm done. I'm finished. It's over. I hand in my resignation. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm sorry. With all the problems in Italian football, these people are worried about traveling.
Well, of course,
to the moon.
You love it more because it's Juventus as well. So
no, it's insane. No, it's insane. It's batshit crazy. Like it's like, oh my god, yeah. I'm done. I'm finished. It's over. I'm handing in my resignation letter. That's it. We have zero hope. Like that's what I'm going to say.
No hope. No soap, no hope. Let's leave it at that. Right. Thanks everyone for listening. This was an extra long show. It's over 2 hours. We're going to have a Q&A as well on Wednesday, and that will be that for this week. And then next week we will have we'll have some more stuff. We'll announce it in due course next week. Yeah. So plenty to come up for you guys to look forward to. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week and see you next time. Ciao, ciao.